It's midweek. That means it's time to catch up with BYU team captain Clark Barrington, where we react to the season finale against Stanford. What did you take away from the win as the Cougars improved to 7-5? And also, let's look ahead a little bit to bowl season and the end of the official season. We'll get to all of that on today's show.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. We're very proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where, of course, the motto is your team every day. And as such, this is only daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Title sponsor of today's show is our friends over at Sling TV. This episode of Locked On Cougars is brought to you by Sling TV. Sling has something for everyone, especially when it comes to the college football coverage across the country. With a massive lineup of games across all the major conferences, you can always catch the games you want on Sling, and I want you guys to check it out now. Sling TV, go to see that massive lineup of the games they have all season long, especially with championship week here. The TV you'll love for a price you'll love. Try Sling today. All right, please now to welcome in BYU team captain and All-American Clark Barrington, been joining us all season long. Clark, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's always good to catch up with you. Obviously, the regular season is in the books now. You guys went out to Stanford, went out to the farm, and got your first win over the Stanford Cardinal. I guess we'll start with kind of a general overview. Can you give me your overall takeaways from the victory?
It was just another opportunity to play with all the guys, and I think we made the most of it, and it was a fun game. Being able to run the ball like we did and do all of those things, it was just fun to be out there again on the field. So
I was going to ask you about that. You guys started the season against USF. You guys ran, I believe, for 312 yards. And then in this game, a season high, 358 yards rushing. You as an offensive lineman and your fellow compatriots along the offensive front had to feel pretty good about that. Yeah,
for sure. I don't know. It was fun being able to do kind of whatever we wanted to do and run the ball on them. And it was fun to see the backs bust through the line and just keep going. And so it was a fun game for sure.
Now, obviously, when you guys run, you're that dominant in the run game. Typically, you guys are going to win a football game. That just those two things kind of coincide with one another. Going in, did you guys anticipate running 50 times for 358 yards? What was the game plan going in?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we planned on running it that much. Because I think we only had, 11 pass attempts or something like that?
12 pass attempps, yep.
12 pass attempts. And so definitely probably wasn't the plan to have it weighted that way. But, I think once you see something work, you just keep calling it until it doesn't. And so that's what we did.
Was there something in particular with regards to what Stanford was doing defensively that gave you guys that? Or did you guys just say, you know what, screw it, it's the final game of the season, let's go put it all out on the line?
I think maybe it was a little bit of both. The last game, so let's just go out there, do everything we can to get the win and do the best we can, and then also, just seeing their defense. They were down a couple guys, and then you just see, watching film, how they defend it and how they run with the plays and how they stretch and whatnot, and we knew we could get them moving side to side and then let the back do the rest. And so, that's what we tried to do.
Now, obviously, Stanford is an elite academic institution. There's a lot of people who say that, like, if you get an offer from Stanford, you're insane for passing on it. You as a guy you've played, what, are you in your fifth year now of college football or fourth? Or what are we at?
Fifth.
Okay, so you're up.
Yeah,
I think fifth, but regardless, COVID screwed everything up. Let's
right. Yeah.
But Stanford's an elite academic institution, like I said, but when you guys hear in the recruiting process about Stanford as an athlete, does that academic component have a big pull? I don't even know if you were recruited by Stanford at all, but if you were, would that have really made you like say, man, I need to go to Stanford just simply for the academic side of things?
I don't think so. I don't want hard. I don't want school to be hard anyway. So I think I might have taken a pass on that one.
Says the guy who's doing construction management, which typically is a high program at BYU, less.
Yeah.
So, okay, when Stanford obviously, and David Shaw shocked the college football world after that game. He gets up to the podium and says, so I'm stepping down. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And that's the second straight season in the regular season finale, because after the USC game last year, if you recall, USC made a coaching change as well. So when it comes to stuff like that, you see other programs that go into flux with coaching changes. We're going to get to BYU coaching changes here in a minute. Does that affect you guys at all? Do you even give it a second thought?
Not really.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Fair enough.
I don't think I really think about it a whole lot.
All right. So now you guys are 7-5. You capped off the season with 3 straight wins to clinch that winning season. How important was that to be a 7-5, maybe versus 6-6 entering bowl season?
Yeah, I think it just sounds a lot better. When you say it out loud, being 7-5 versus 6-6, and so I think that was kind of a big reason as to why we just tried to play our best, and then also just the love that we have for the guys we play with. I think that just continues to drive us and continue to make us want to play the best we can. So.
Now, you guys obviously did not probably live up to the expectations you guys had going into the season, the 4-game slide in October, et cetera. But do you feel like this program right now is on an upswing in terms of you guys going into bowl season with some momentum as compared to maybe a season ago when it seemed like you guys were a bit on the downside, if that makes sense, going into bowl season?
Yeah, I would say so. I think our focus is in a better place than it was last year going into the bowl game, and just wanting to do it for the guy next to us and wanting to finish strong, for our brothers. And so I think that's kind of the different mindset this year.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. Like I said, we'll also talk about the coaching changes that are going on at BYU. We'll get into all that here in a moment. First, a word on our friends over at BetOnline. They are your number one source for all of your sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. It's a fantastic way if you guys are interested in getting in on the betting world. You can do it with our friends at BetOnline. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They've got it all at BetOnline. And if you love sports podcasts like this one, you'll probably find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and the easiest way to get your betting fix, whether it's live betting, futures odds, or week to week with regards to the spreads. Give them a shot. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more now. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. Continuing on now with Clark Barrington, but a quick reminder for you guys to make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast to get you up to speed essentially on everything going on in the sports world. Think of it as your morning down. If you were to go to ESPN.com, CBSSports.com, those sports websites that have all the news, instead of having to read about it, you can listen to it. 25 minutes or less, Peter Bukowski gets you up to speed on everything going on when it comes to all the big sports news out there. Get it free and available on this platform, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Clark. Last season, the Independence Bowl, you and I feel like every one of your teammates that I talked to throughout the offseason leading into this season talked about the fact that what you just said, that you guys, there's a different feeling right now versus what you guys had a year ago going into bowl season. Many coaches and players said that your guys' flat performance in that bowl game a year ago inspired you guys to work hard this offseason because it just kind of left a bitter taste in your mouth. Are you guys still kind of hearkening back to that feeling you had after losing to UAB now as you await your bowl destination and whoever you're going to play?
Yeah, for sure. In these past couple of days, we've kind of sat down and met, as players and kind of just, spoke our mind, and kind of told each other, hey man, we need to do better, and we need to not let what happened last year happen again this year. And so, I think we're just grateful for the opportunity to play another game. And we're going to take this opportunity and do the best we can with it. So.
Now, you talk about the fact that you guys feel like you need to do better than a year ago. Was there a particular reason or reasons you feel like that led to you guys falling flat in that game? What was it? Just the being at the Independence Bowl? Like, it was just kind of it's a downgraded bowl in a way. What were the reasons for that flat performance in your mind?
Yeah, I think it was just the mindset, kind of just what you said. I think a lot of guys thought that we should have been somewhere better.
Mm-hmm.
And then our mindset just going into the whole thing was super negative. And so I think just changing that mindset and staying positive and remembering the reasons as to why we're going in to play this game, that'll help us do well. So.
Now, obviously, this week, some news coming out that Ilaisa Tuiaki announcing he's stepping down as BYU's defensive coordinator. I know you're a guy who plays on the offensive side of the football, but Coach Tuiaki's been at BYU as long as you have been there. What will you remember about Coach Tuiaki as he leaves the program now?
He's just a good dude. Friendly guy. Always say what's up to you when he passes you, and make sure that you feel like you're noticed, and he knows you individually, and he's just a great guy, and he'll be missed for sure. So
now, obviously, he leaves a pretty large hole in the coaching staff, because defensive coordinators, they work with these other position coaches on the defensive side of the football. And that, obviously, with the new DC coming in, that's going to lead to a lot of guys being in flux, whether they're going to be retained, whether they're going to have to pursue new opportunities. But you're no stranger to this. You had Jeff Grimes for Baylor. Eric Mateos left with Coach Grimes to go to Baylor. So you've been through the coaching changes on the offensive side of the football. How do you best navigate that as a player, as you kind of await to find out who your new position coach and coordinator are going to be?
Yeah, it's kind of different. Like you said, I've been through that a little bit. I think it's just all about keeping an open mind. And taking as much as you can from the old coach that you've learned, but also keeping that open mind and taking as much as you can, and continuing to learn with whoever they bring in. And just knowing that as you gain this information, gain this experience, you will become a better player out of it. So I think, honestly, that's one of the benefits of me having a bunch of different coaches. I've been able to learn, every one of them has their own strengths or whatnot. And so I've been able to learn parts and pieces of the game from 4 different dudes now. And so it's been cool just to be able to piece all that together like a puzzle and see what comes of it. So.
Now, you talk about the fact that you've had these different coaches. If I'm not mistaken, you came in the 2018 season along
with Pugh.
Yeah, with Coach Pugh. Coach Grimes had just come in as the offensive coordinator. Coach Roderick, that whole offensive staff was brand new. So you didn't know the old offensive staff, but they'd made that transition as you were coming into the program. You talk about the fact that you've worked with these different coaches. How was that coming in? And essentially, you as a freshman, you're coming in with a brand new staff, so you don't know anything different. But how was that overall?
Yeah, it was different. I was always talking with. Right, because Mike Empey was the coach before that, and he was the one that recruited me a whole lot, and he was the one that was there when I signed, and then on the mission, he'd send a couple emails here and there and just check in and all that stuff, and then I think it kind of helps, having Campbell being recruited and stuff, and still here at home, and so he knew Pugh, and they had talked, and my family had got to know him, and so there was kind of a relationship already started there, without me really being a part of any of it. And so I feel like it wasn't too bad of a transition. It was easy to build that relationship with him and then, continue onward. So.
Now, you've worked with Coach Pugh. Coach Grimes was he was an offensive line coach. That's what he was.
Right. Yep.
Coordinator. So you worked with him extensively. You worked with Coach Mateos. I've told that story about one of the first times I'd sat with Mateos. We were sitting on a bench out there at the student athlete building, and he points at you and he's like, "Hey, that number 56 Barrington, he's going to be a 4-year starter for me." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And his prediction held pretty true. He nailed it. And then most recently, you've been working with Coach Funk. You talk about the fact that essentially it's kind of a puzzle. You take pieces you learn from Coach Pugh, from Coach Grimes, Mateos, and now Coach Funk. In terms of, I guess, uploading all that information into your brain, but then at the same time deciding which pieces you're going to hold on to. How do you go about that?
I think it's been pretty easy, especially because we've kept the same scheme throughout all those years. You know what I mean? So if there were scheme changes and whatnot, I'm sure there's things I'd have to ditch here and there, but a lot of it's the same. Maybe new terminology here and there or whatnot. But with sticking with the same, structure of offense and all that, it's been a pretty smooth transition throughout. So,
well, I guess that makes sense considering you guys still run the zone running concepts.
Right.
Game stuff's kind of stayed with the continuity, as you mentioned. That would make a lot of sense. Now, other changes inside the program include Nu'u Tufisi and Justin McClure being let go. They're the tandem that essentially led all of your strength and conditioning for the time you've been at BYU. What is your relationship like with Coach Tufisi and Coach McClure overall?
Yeah, they're both great dudes again. And they expect the best out of you day in and day out, and they're kind of the hard-nosed, old school guys, and they're not going to take excuses or whatnot or things that they're not going to allow you to be soft. And so I think that's what I liked about them the most. So they pushed me to be great, and they pushed all of us to just be better every day. So.
Now, I talked about this on yesterday's podcast. The strength and conditioning coaches maybe are as critical a hire for a head coach when they come into a program as any coordinator, position coach, recruiting coordinator, because they have the most contact with you athletes, you student athletes. Even the head coach cannot talk to you guys as much as these strength and conditioning coaches. Can you speak to how important it is to have those guys with you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's exactly what you said. They're probably the ones that we spend the most time with day in and day out. And there were just great opportunities to have conversations with them, talk to them just about life or whatnot. And as you're lifting or just, I don't know, they're just great dudes. And so, I think it's very important to get, good dudes in place there. So.
Yeah, see, that's the funny thing about it. I don't know if you saw the news, but Cincinnati head coach Luke Fickell just took the job at Wisconsin.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was either the first or second hire that was officially announced by him after taking the Wisconsin job was him taking his strength and conditioning coach from Cincinnati and hiring him in Madison. Like these guys, I know that they're not on the field. They're not guys that you see every single day out there as a fan or a media member. But they really do set the tone, it feels like, in many ways for what the program's going to be like. Right?
For sure. Yep. I think a lot of the time, the things that go unnoticed, the things that people don't see, that's where we spend most of our time. And so I think it's super important.
Now, when it comes to strength and conditioning, there are a lot of BYU fans who will say that, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. It seems it's more complicated than that because you guys now have you also have what do they call him? What's Coach Main doing? Is he doing
sports scientist?
Yeah, sports science, and they have an outsized role as well as
right. Yep.
They weigh in on, okay, how much exertion are you guys putting on out there on a day-to-day basis versus how much work you need to put in the weight room with the strength and conditioning coaches. You guys have a really, really, I think, unique staff there that they're trying to, I guess, get peak optimal, peak optimized, optimal, I guess optimal same way, peak optimal performance from you athletes. And it seems like they work very much hand in hand to make sure you guys are operating at peak efficiency.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're doing a good job of bringing guys in and just trying to get input from all sections and then just trying to take that input and make the best decisions with it. So
now let's be real. Coach Main might have the only mustache that rivals yours on staff. It looks like, though.
For sure. No, his is great.
And if you guys have not seen it, I know it's been tweeted out a couple of times. He's been caught on camera in some games, and pictures were tweeted out of it because he's got like the whole rolly finger.
Nice and curled on the sides.
Are we going to see Clark Barrington do that at some point? Like,
no, I don't think so. Takes a little too much work.
Okay, this is I didn't anticipate asking this question. There's a lot of guys when they finish playing at BYU, and you're still going through the process of making your decision. We'll talk about that when you do make that ultimate decision about your future. But a lot of guys, when they do go on to pursue the professional ranks, they grow that beard out. Is Clark Barrington going to be sporting a mountain man beard when we see him once he does leave the BYU football program?
Absolutely. That is the first thing I'll start doing when I'm done here. So
okay. Fair enough. I can dig that. And the funny thing about it, there are guys you wouldn't necessarily expect to do it that all of a sudden they show up like pro day, like 2 or 3 months later, and they have just let it go. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, you can count me in on that one for sure.
All right. Very cool. Well, all right. We'll talk about the holiday season, how you guys handle this with bowl prep, finals. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. But Clark, you know how we do this. We talk about Nissan every single week. Our partners at Nissan bring every week the thrilling moment in college football is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. The thrilling designs behind the new lineup from Nissan are intended to empower drivers in vehicles and as capable as the drivers themselves. When I and Clark think of unbelievable abilities on the field this week for BYU's thrilling moment, it has to be the floor is yours, Clark.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Isaac Rex down the sideline with his little hezzy move he had there. Not the prettiest, but it got the job done. Oh, man.
Let's be real. Isaac has battled through a lot this year.
Absolutely.
He's nowhere near 100%, I don't feel like. And I'm not going to ask you to elaborate on that, but he has battled through multiple surgeries on that ankle to get back onto the field this year. He very easily could be sitting out, it feels like.
For sure. No, yeah. He comes to work, every day with what he can do, and you can just tell, it's been a grind for him, and I'm sure this off season and continuing to get healthy will be great for him, and he'll come back an even better player next year. But for sure he's putting in all the effort and giving his all every play. So we appreciate him.
And let's be real. He can say that hezzy move. He's like, hey, if I was 100% healthy, it would have worked better. Come on now.
Yeah. No, we've given him his fair share of crap, so it's been fun.
Well, he had the 2 touchdowns. It's good to see him have that performance, obviously, a year to the day after he injured that ankle. But I'm going to give an honorable mention because I thought Isaac was a very easy choice. I am going to give an honorable mention to the 2 running backs that led you guys in that game.
Sure.
Brooks and Hinkley Ropati. They were absolutely masterful, and I guess that's the tip of the cap to you guys as well as on the offensive line.
Yeah, for sure. No, they had a great game, and they both rushed for. I think Hinkley was close to 100, and then Chris was 150 something or something like that.
Yeah, he had a career high if I'm not mistaken. At least his high at BYU for sure. So
yeah. So they both played well, and it was fun watching them run around. So it was a good time.
So there you go. This segment has been inspired by the thrilling new designs featured across Nissan's new lineup of vehicles. Pursue what thrills you in the all-new Frontier, Armada, or Pathfinder today. It's available now at nissanusa.com. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Continuing on here with Clark Barrington. And Clark, obviously you guys are still in flux. You're still awaiting your bowl destination and the opponent. You guys had a couple of days off this week to get back to school work on your bodies essentially because the season as regular seasons come to a close. How do you guys handle this time with the downtime between the regular season where it's a week-to-week thing really, and now you've got at least a couple of weeks it feels like until the bowl season?
Yeah, it's a different thing for sure. Just like you said, just focusing on getting our bodies right, and then, they've given us some time to focus on schoolwork and try to finalize everything we can there, so that we can focus on football when time gets closer to the bowl game. And I think we're gonna start practicing again tomorrow, and just keep us, in good shape and rolling on all cylinders, and then, we'll see hopefully by the end of this week where we're going, who we're playing, and we'll go from there. So
now you talk about practicing, and like I said, without an opponent, you guys are just kind of going out there and just keeping yourselves in shape. But at this time of year, you guys have ground your way through 13, 14 weeks of football. So really, what does practice entail?
Yeah, I think it's just it's kind of crazy how fast you can kind of lose it, especially on the offensive side of the ball. When there's 11 people needing to work together, doing the right thing exactly when you need to do it. And so I think just going through, the fundamentals, running those plays that we always run, but we need to continue to run to just keep it, a fine old machine. And so I think, just doing those small and simple things, and just continually trying to get better as the season continues.
Keeping the timing of all that, obviously, because
exactly, yeah,
with your guys' zone running concepts and everything, like you guys as the offensive line, you got to essentially work in lockstep. I know that's a cliche term, but it really, with you guys, you all move one way, and you guys have to time that almost perfectly, it feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so now as you look towards the bowl season, obviously the end of the school term, the semester is coming. Are you excited to officially be done with the semester? And I believe you are close to graduating, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this is it for me. So I am beyond excited.
The light at the end of the tunnel for Clark Barrington.
Yeah, it couldn't come soon enough. So yeah, I'm ready to be done with the construction major, and as great as it is, it's been long and a lot of hard work. So it's nice to see the light there at the end of the tunnel. So
now, when you do finish up, let's just say hypothetically, if you were to come back next year, you have another year of eligibility if you want to utilize it. If you were to come back next year, you've already graduated. Would you be like taking like bowling? Like what's your course load gonna look like?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it's like, I think they call it like post back or something like that, and
okay.
I think you only have to take like six credits or something like that. And
also,
I think they have to be a little bit more meaningful than bowling, but not a whole lot. So it would be a lot easier than the load I'm used to. So
okay, very cool. Well, hey, we'll kind of wait and see. Like I said, you still are working your way through that. Do you feel like you have a date that you will have made your decision on your future at some point?
I think it will probably be after the bowl game. So.
Okay. Well, very cool. Well, Clark, appreciate you as always for taking the time. We'll keep bothering you. We'll keep having you on as we get closer to this bowl game. Once we know the bowl opponent and that type of stuff, in the lead up to that game, we'll have you back on to talk about that. And obviously, we wish you well finishing up school. The light is there at the end of the tunnel. Will we 3 weeks out? How close are we to the end of the semester?
I think it's 2 more weeks after this week. So
all right. Well, finish strong. Obviously.
Yep.
Get that paper quite literally in your hands. Finish that up.
Exactly.
And we will talk to you again soon. Thanks as always.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, there you go. That's Clark Barrington. A big thank you to him for taking the time as always. A big thank you to you also for tuning in via YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, all of that jazz. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we'll react to whatever news might be filtering out of BYU in terms of coaching changes potentially. Basketball also in action. Their Salt Lake week continues up there at Vivint Arena. We'll have it all covered for you. Make sure you make your second listen now. Our friends over the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Get that free and available wherever you get your podcasts. For Clark, I'm Jake. Have a great rest of your day. This has been the Locked On Cougars podcast. See ya.